So not only does it make everything easier, getting around traffic and costing less money, but it also makes it more fun. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. You actually joined me today on the outskirts of my garage because we're going to go for a ride on this electric motorcycle and run some errands. This is the BMW CE 04. It's technically speaking a little bit more of a scooter than a motorcycle, but nonetheless, it's entirely powered by electric and it allows you to go and do things with your day-to-day and do it remarkably efficiently. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what makes an electric motorcycle, or at least an electric scooter, something like that, nice to have around and why it works for so many people who might not realize it. Now, first things first, we don't have a full review on the CE 04 out yet. I'm driving it for the next month and a half or so, and I'm going to have a full comprehensive review at the end. So stay tuned if you do want to see that. Eventually, depending on when you're watching it, the link will be here below. But this isn't a review on the CE 04 necessarily. It's a review on the concept of an electric motorcycle. Today we've got a few different errands to run. I'm going to do some returns and some pickups. So in order to do that, we're going to use this bike. As you can see, it's not a huge machine, so it's actually tucked in behind our Ford Maverick, which is leaving here, hopefully in just a few days. And I'm actually able to fit this and the Maverick in one side, and then we've got our RCF press car this week. And it's plugged into our Grizzly charger here. Quick shout out to Grizzly. Brought it from Michigan. You can still see there's dust on here from when I installed it. They sent us some new parts and got us set up all nice. So I can turn on the bike, unplug the same style charger that we use for charging up Alyssa's Bolt and any of the electric press vehicles, and our bike is coming to life. It's nice being able to leave the house with a full charge and not have to ever hit the gas station. This bike also comes with a few different storage areas, including locking ones, like right here. You can see this is where we've got the proxy key, but I'm going to throw that in my pocket for this ride. And then that's got some more storage up in there, some manuals, even a wireless device charger. I put this bag on here just to have a little bit of extra room and storageability. Just a universal motorcycle bag. But then we also have some locking storage on this side that will pop down via, or is it this side? No, it's definitely this side. Everything's so sleek, sometimes it's hard to tell. So that's that right there. It'll fit a medium helmet. Not a large helmet though, not mine. Throw our hard drive in there, as well as our Roku remote that we'll be returning. Slap that shut. Okay, we're unplugged. The bike's got a center stand, so I'm going to wiggle it out a little bit here. Drop it down. Fire it up, and we are ready to run errands. One of my favorite things to do. Before we get rolling, of course, plug in my airbag vest. Another thing I like having to keep me safe running errands. Even if I'm not going to throw on full gear, I like to wear the vest because it's very easy to do. First things first, the battery is not huge on the CE 04. A lot of people love to start chiming in as soon as they start hearing about electric vehicles, or specifically in this case, electric motorcycles, and they love to talk about, oh, that is not enough range for me. I heard if you go fast, the range disappears really quick, and I need a whole bunch of range for all my riding. Yeah, I actually fully agree with you. This would not do it for me as my full-fledged motorcycle riding tendencies. I like to go for long full-day rides. I like to ride fast. And when I've tried to do that with this bike, I have to either plan quite a bit of charging in there or just cut my trip short. But what a lot of people are failing to realize is that there are plenty of people who don't use their motorcycles like that. They use them for going out and doing things like this, running errands or commuting to work. And for those reasons, the CE 04, or a lot of its electric counterparts, work fantastically. Zero just recently came out with an electric motorcycle that has a frunk right in front of you. I would love to have that, to just be able to toss things right in there in front of me, run out, go do errands, and then come back. Another nice thing about the CE 04 being fairly small is getting to do that. Another thing I should have mentioned right as we were pulling out of the complex, but I've almost gotten so used to it now, having the CE 04 around for a little while, you don't have to wait for the bike to warm up. I simply got on it and gave it a full twist as soon as I got out on the main road and yanked myself away from the stoplight. Don't have to wait for the engine to warm up. Don't have to worry about shifting, making sure that transmission oil is warm or anything. You just go. And don't get me wrong, I love internal combustion motorcycles as much as the next guy. I really do like an engine with a lot of character that helps the machine feel alive and like you're actually interacting with it. And I like the reward of pulling through a peaky power band and feeling that. But when I'm just going out to get my body and some of my things from point A to point B to point C back to point A, I really couldn't care less. In fact, I actually prefer the silence and the simplicity of rolling away from a light smoothly, sitting at a light without having the heat and the rumble. So right now, just simply drive away. I mean, how nice is that? Right up to the speed limit. And then all I'm hearing is wind, which you should know, wind is one of the loudest aspects of riding motorcycle. Unless you've got some big aftermarket pipe on a sport bike or something, you riding at anything over 50 miles per hour, the loudest thing you're going to have is wind. But it's the slower speed riding that's nice to not be making a bunch of noise, being obnoxious. And never once commuting on this thing or putzing around here have I ever had that feeling of, oh, you need to have your bike loud so people realize you're there. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Yes, there are a few niche considerations where you can pull your clutch in and rev your engine and kind of make your presence known, if you will. But in general, people aren't paying attention to you. And they've got their music on, they've got their phones going. For whatever reason, they're not going to hear you coming. They're not going to pay attention to you flying up on them. So it makes no difference if you're making no sound or all the noise in the world from some big chopper Harley. Another thing that makes electric bikes so much nicer for city type driving is the low speed situations, when typically right here I'd be clutching in and out, I'd be sort of bouncing around in first and then maybe going up to second, but then coming back to first to get around. Instead, all I'm doing is modulating the throttle. My feet can just stay in one nice position. If I need to do really low speed maneuvers, I can modulate the rear brake with my hand, which gives me a lot of control. And then I roll up to a stop. Be nice if this Honda Element would move over to the left side of the lane so I could get through, but he's not going to do that because, again, entirely oblivious. And I really don't think there's anything I could do on a gasoline-powered bike to rev it up and let him know I'm here. I don't think that's going to change his or her behavior. Catching the gap, and away you go. That's not something I'd be able to do on most gasoline bikes. This CE04, when I've got it in dynamic or eco mode, provides maximum regeneration into the battery. So it's taking my kinetic moving energy and moving it back into electrical potential, chemical potential energy, just by rotating my wrist down. So as I let off the throttle, the bike's slowing me down significantly. It's like if you were on a gasoline bike that had a really, really strong compression, high compression with a lot of engine braking. You get that from this, so I can essentially ride this bike without ever using the brakes. So not only does that make for an easy riding style, but it also makes it so that I'm recuperating energy that would on a gasoline bike simply be lost into your brake pads. I can actually slow down and gain energy back. Already on this trip, I've gotten 0.1 kilowatt hours back just by slowing down and regenerating. That's energy that would be lost right there on a gasoline bike. Let's talk about energy for a little bit. Now, it's kind of strange, but the CE04 doesn't tell you your energy used in kilowatt hours per 100 miles. It still uses kilometers, even though I've got everything else set in miles, miles per hour, etc. It's just showing me per 100 kilometers. So you do have to do a little bit of calculation and conversion, but I did calculate some of those figures based on how efficient the motorcycle has been since I got it. And we've been getting about 7 miles per kilowatt hour out of this bike, which for those of you who have virtually no reference of that, that is about roughly twice as efficient as an electric vehicle. And we're talking an electric commuter vehicle, something like a Bolt or a Model 3 should be able to comfortably get about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. And you could probably do a little bit better than that depending on the driving situation, but 3.5 is a fairly safe number. And about double that is what I've been getting here on the CE04. And that's not riding it easy. If I'm babying it, I'm getting up closer to 7.5. I don't think I've been up by 8 miles per kilowatt hour, but it's certainly an improvement. But I've been full acceleration, taking off from lights, and riding generally at or potentially above the speed limit. Now, to compare that to some other motorcycle efficiency figures, based on a scooter of this size, a 400cc class scooter, that would probably be getting about 60 miles per gallon on regular fuel. The CE04 charging up at 33 cents per kilowatt hour, which is what my home rate is here in California. And I know it's particularly high. I know a lot of people are going to have lower rates than that. But even in expensive SoCal here, about 33 cents per kilowatt hour to charge this thing versus about $5 per gallon on gas, which I would be using if this were a gasoline scooter. This costs about half as much to run as a gasoline scooter getting 60 miles per gallon would cost. So at the current MSRP of this bike, which I've reviewed a lot of things in the last week and blanking a little bit how much this costs, I want to say it's about $15,000 as spec'd, and it's got a few options on it. I would imagine a 400cc BMW scooter new comparable to this is probably about $9,000. So are you going to make up that $16,000 or that $6,000 in cost difference just in that fuel savings? Unlikely. It's pretty unlikely. You'd have to put a lot of miles on it to make up the difference. But the other advantages start to stack up. The fact that I've never got to hit the gas station, the fact that it's so smooth and easy to ride and satisfying to ride, the fact that it's so quiet and doesn't cause a disturbance to anybody. Those things start to add up and start to get to the point where you're like, oh, well, maybe this is gonna be worth it for me. Not to mention, but this thing is remarkably snappy. 0 to 30. You can hear the traction control kicking in right there. Oh, and you're just gonna run the light and go straight? Okay. I guess I'm gonna just sit here like a sucker. What I do find interesting is how quickly we're seeing the lines blurred between electric bicycles and electric motorcycles. I see so many people riding high-powered electric bicycles around Southern California, and they're doing so without proper safety gear, helmets, gloves, anything like that. No sort of registration or documentation. I know there's laws on the books saying, oh, well, you know, if it's a class 3 electric bike, then you're supposed to have this sort of helmet on, and you're supposed to be this age and everything. People aren't following that. There's no good, easy ways to enforce that. But so we have something like this 500-pound full-fledged scooter that's capable of going 80 some miles in mixed driving and is capable of highway speeds. Okay, yeah, very clearly a motorcycle. But then BMW just released the CE02, which is a much smaller electric bike, a little less range and less power and everything, but also lighter and more kind of city usable. So the electric motorcycles are getting smaller, and electric bicycles are getting larger and more capable. So, so when does one get subjected to the same regulation as the other? Not only that, but I do think it's important for us to realize that the fact that these electric bicycles are increasing in popularity so quickly, that it's an untapped market there. These aren't conventional motorcycle enthusiasts going out and buying these electric bikes. These are just general people wanting to go out and buy these bikes and have a cheap, easy, fun, and convenient way to transport themselves. So you really might be interested in considering an electric motorcycle, not because you've considered motorcycles before, but because you might be just someone who would enjoy it. I mean, this CE04 is easily something that I would have someone like Alyssa go out and ride, and I would not just slap her on kind of a standard scooter and say go out and have fun in the same way. So I've waxed poetic about getting around on an electric motorcycle now for enough time. There's got to be some cons, right? Why aren't we all going out and doing this right now? Big part is cost. definitely the cost aspect. This is not a cheap bike, and I won't sit here and try to claim that it is. There are gasoline motorcycles I would go out and buy before buying this. But again, I'm a different type of user. While range isn't an issue for going out and doing something like this, and I've even been able to go out and take rides with Alyssa and come back, I've been able to go and have fun and make it back home and not have to do any charging, I won't try to claim that the range isn't any sort of issue. I mean, yeah, for someone who really needs to go out and maybe burn the highway for 30 miles each way to get to his or her job, yeah, it's not gonna work fantastic for you, again, unless you could charge from work. That would certainly help. But if cost isn't a big factor for you and you don't have a ton of driving to do, or maybe you've got 2 different bikes in your house, or you're the type to only use a motorcycle for kind of casual riding like this, there really aren't too many other cons to outweigh the pros of having an electric bike for something like this. I have multiple other means of transportation at home that I could have been doing this day with, and I was so excited to go out and ride the CE04 in order to do what I need to do. So not only does it make everything easier, getting around traffic and costing less money, but it also makes it more fun. So there it is, my take on having an electric scooter around, or electric motorcycle, for doing life, for getting yourself around places. I am very happy with having the CE04 for just that. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the CE04, hang out for a little bit. We'll have the review up in a month or so, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, we're on.